Hello, everyone. How are you? Happy Friday. I'm just going to make sure that we're live also on Instagram. Give me a second. All right. Hello, everyone. How are you? I'm a couple of minutes late because the recycling truck was going by and making a big racket. So I felt that I should wait. I felt if I was hearing it, you guys would hear it too. I hope they're all doing well. I'm coming on today to talk about blood types and blood type diets. I got a question about that recently, and I thought it was really interesting. Someone that I knew was actually on the blood type diet and was talking to me about that and asking me about it and saying, "What do you think of this?" and so forth. So I thought I would talk about that today. So if you haven't heard of it, the blood type diet was actually created almost like more than 20 years ago in the mid 90s by a guy named James D'Adamo. And so he kind of like his premise was that basically that different people react to foods differently based on their blood type. So he did a little bit of work, but it was his son, Peter D'Adamo, who really did a lot more research into this, and he ultimately was the one who published the book in 1996 called "Eat Right for Your Type." I was around then. I was a young adult, so I remember when this book was published, it made a bit of a splash. It was like this idea that you could eat according to your blood type. And basically correlating human blood groups with nutrition. Is a very interesting idea at the time. So the book goes into a lot of detail about each of these blood types and what you should eat and not eat and so forth. And I won't get into the weeds of all of that today because otherwise I'd be here for an hour, probably more than an hour. But I kind of want to give you like an overall view of this diet and what it calls for basically and what it tells you to do according to your blood type. There are some universal tenets for each of the blood types. So that's O, A, B, A, and B. So all of these blood groups, according to this theory, should include green veggies and fish in their diet. And the things they should avoid are processed food and cured meats. And I would definitely agree with those foods to avoid. If you avoid processed foods, chances are you will feel better and you would probably lose weight. So those are the universal tenets for the four blood types. Now, when we go, I wanted to know if you're on, let me know what blood type you are. It seems that there are a lot of people that are O blood types. I do believe, like at least in this hemisphere, it is the most common. But that's not the case around the world, right? So I'm just going to go through each blood type pretty quickly and kind of give you like the very broad guidelines of what this dietary theory calls for each of these blood types. So the O blood type is interesting because it's the most susceptible to wheat and corn allergies. So if you're no blood type, you might want to keep that in mind. The diet profile is centers a lot on high quantities of protein. So that's meat and seafood. So kind of like everything on the buffet table, if you will. And the exercise profile is also kind of intense as well. So aerobics, martial arts, contact sports, these kind of things. And that's it for the O blood profile. So if you're an O type, let me know if you do these kind of things, or maybe you're thinking of incorporating these things into your daily life and see if it makes a difference, if you feel better. The next type is the A type, which is almost the polar opposite of O. There's little need for animal foods for A types, actually. Their diet profile is almost always vegan or vegetarian, so that's no meat and no dairy products whatsoever. And the exercise is also the polar opposite of O, in that it's very light. So Tai Chi, yoga, these kinds of things. So that's for A types. If you're an A, let me know. And if you're doing these things, that would be interesting. Or if you're an A and you're a meat eater and you can't live without meat, I would love to know that too. B types are more likely to tolerate dairy, actually, compared to the A types. They're very omnivorous. So again, everything under the sun: meat, seafood, grains, legumes, fruits and vegetables. And their exercise is more moderate. So hiking, swimming, biking, tennis, these sort of things. Kind of middle of the road, things, if you will, for the B type. And the AB type is actually the most recently evolved blood type. And it's a bit of a mix of all the other blood types in terms of the profile. So the diet is mixed. So, again, omnivorous mostly, so meat, seafood, vegetarian sources of protein as well. And the exercise profile is also mixed. So calming exercises like Tai Chi or yoga, and also more moderate exercises that I mentioned earlier. Now, some of the things, now these are just very broad guidelines for each of these blood types. If you want to know more, I suggest that you go check out the book Eat for Your Type by Peter D'Adamo, Dr. Peter D'Adamo. He has a website, I think, and he goes into detail about his theory on his website. So the pros and cons of this dietary theory is that I would say a pro is that it honors what us health coaches talk about, bio-individuality, and that usually diets, they offer you one box to fit in, and, one diet, one protocol, and this is the protocol that you have to follow in order to attain your goal of weight loss, for instance. Whereas this one, there's 4 boxes. Not very many boxes, but it's still, that's one thing that I find interesting with this dietary theory, is that it's a bit more tailored and personalized for the individual. Now, the con of this, of course, is that you're not necessarily going to fit into your O box or your AB box or whatever blood type you are. I'm an O blood type, and I don't digest red meat well at all, contrary to what the dietary profile says. So you have to be careful with that as well. In that, if you follow this diet and and you don't feel good eating, avoiding something or eating something in an extra quantity, you don't want to take that to like an obsessive level. That's obviously not healthy. You really want to, you can obviously modify the diet to what suits your needs the best. And the other thing too, I would say another con for this dietary profile theory, I should say, is that there's not a ton of scientific evidence that backs it up. So I'd say it's really the D'Adamo father and son duo have done their work. But I would say in general, the medical community hasn't really looked into this like in depth. So I would take this with a grain of salt. If you're interested, you can try it for yourself and see what happens. You might actually lose weight. Especially if you have processed foods in your diet and you eliminate that. You could probably lose weight pretty easily just by cutting that one element out. Again, it depends how much you're eating. If all you're eating is processed foods, then, oh my God, I mean, you will see results immediately if you cut that out of your diet and you start incorporating vegetables and so forth. I think that's all I had to say today. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions about this. If you've actually done the blood type diet. I haven't done it myself personally, but I would be really curious to know what your comments are, and I hope that you have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.